Welcome to Anglesey for rounds 14, 15 and 16 of the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. Pip Hammond once again leading the 924s, but teammate Gavin Johnson is closing up behind him, only 6/10 behind during qualifying. But the real excitement is up front here in the boxes. Ed Hayes, Adam Southgate and Richard Avery have been battling it out all season, and it's Adam who takes pole position here. It's over to Jake Sanson to take you through the rest of the grid.
Thank you, Lloyd. Really looking forward to this hat-trick of races. Adam Southgate on pole position from Ed Hayes, with Richard Avery and Nick Hull on the second row. Kevin Molyneux and Andrew Porter on the third, with Philip Churchill taking up the rear. In the 924s, Pip Hammond and Gavin Johnson making a PDC front row, with Ryan Lowry and Carl Rossin on the second. Peter Smith, Bernie Printy, Philip Waters, Jason Wood, Andrew Pritchard, and then the two production cars, Andrew Baker and Matthew Harris, sharing the back of the grid. Interestingly, from qualifying, Adam Southgate, the only driver around the circuit to lap the course in under 100 seconds. Engine revs rise and we're about to go racing at Anglesey. Ed Hayes is creeping forward, and as the lights go out, so are we! Nick Hull jumps the start there a little bit, and so does Ed Hayes. Now, if that's been picked up, there will be a penalty issued, but he's up alongside Adam Southgate for the lead as Ryan Lowry goes through turn one. Whoa, it's a little bit close in the 924s. That looked a little bit too touring cars for my liking, but they get away with it. Southgate leads, Hull, Avery, Molyneux, and Ed Hayes is there in fifth position. So through they come. This is Ryan Lowry. We're back on board with him as he comes out of the banking and through to Church, flat on the throttle in the 924 class. Listen. Absolutely flat on the floor as he goes through. Whoops, Philip Churchill goes a little bit wide, takes to the grass, manages to get it going, and he's there in front of Pip Hammond and Gavin Johnson with, I think that's Carl Rossin in the 41 in third in the 924s. The battle for the front end of the grid in the Boxsters is incredibly close as they go into Rocket for the first time. That's Ryan Lowry going round the outside of Rossin. Can he make it? No, he's on the grass. He's going to have to get back on the road there, and he does so through the right-hander as they come off of Rocket and down towards Peel. But he's got the 18 to his left there. Peter Smith trying to come round the outside, but as they go through Peel, he hangs on to it. We're on board with Gavin Johnson, second position in the 924s, as they work their way round the left-hander at Siemens. And now they go down the Tom Price straight, named in honour of Wales's #1 racing driver. Formula One driver, almost the Grand Prix winner, certainly got a pole position in his day. And as they go through the hairpin and up towards the bus stop, it is an absolutely cracking lead that Southgate has got at the moment in front of Nick Hull and Richard Avery. Ed Hayes has got past Kevin Molyneux for fourth place, but I wonder if there's going to be a penalty issued for Nick Hull and for Ed Hayes for jumping the start. They were certainly creeping forward. We're on board with Nick Hull, who runs in second place through turn one. Richard Avery swarming around all over him as they come down to the banking. Now, will Richard Avery manage to get the way through? He was very late on the brakes and the car skated off into the middle of the apex. So he manages to get it back together again. They come up to Church. Nick Hull is flat on the throttle. I just wanted to hear if he is lifting off. He's not. So they charge their way down towards Rocket. This is the fastest point on the circuit. Flat to the throttle, up through the gears, through the quick right flick, and then into the braking zone, uphill for Rocket. It's so hard to judge the braking zone here, but you can see the backdrop is the seaside, and the ocean is literally over the top of that back behind us. As we go up towards Peel, very tough right-hander hairpin this one. You've got to get it just right, and it's quite fast-flowing as hairpins go. Then you drop down the hill towards Siemens, into the left-hander, named after the great pre-war racing driver Richard Seaman, of course, one of Britain's very finest racing drivers of all time. And as they go down Tom Price straight, Nick Hull is actually gaining ground on Adam Southgate, but Ed Hayes is not charging his way through to the front with the same speed and veracity that we're used to him doing so. But once again, we are used to the fact that he's made a poor start, and now he's having to play catch-up. Here comes Avery, making a move on Nick Hull. You can see Ed Hayes in the background. Hull moves across the stop. Richard Avery coming through. And as they go into the final turn, He has just about hung on to the lead there, so good work from Nick Hull to hang on to that battle for second place. Now, here is Ryan Lowry. He looks to his right. I think someone's about to come through alongside us. Is that going to be Peter Smith in the 18? Is he going to get alongside? Not if Ryan Lowry's got anything to say about it, but he is still there. He looks back. No, he didn't make it through. Thank goodness for that, as he breathes a sigh of relief. But Peter Smith is still right behind him into turn one. Ryan Lowry doing a good job here in the Malutu car. But here comes Peter Smith to his left. As they come up to the banking, he's going to keep his foot in round the outside. Surely there's not going to be enough grip. But he doesn't quite make the move. But absolutely brilliant bravery from Peter Smith. They come up towards Church. Flat on the throttle again. An amazing part of the course is that they just keep their foot planted and make sure that they've got enough grip through the middle part of the turn. Terrific stuff as Ryan Lowry sets off in pursuit of Carl Rossin. He's held up the challenge from Peter Smith for the moment. Pip Hammond is very nearly on the back of Philip Churchill. I wonder where he'd be if you put him in a Porsche Boxster. But Gavin Johnson in second position, closing in on his teammate all the time. Rossin is third. There's Ryan Lowry in fourth, and in fifth position, further back, that is Peter Smith. Great racing in the 19.4s as they come out of Peel, down the hill. Ryan Lowry has made light work of Peter Smith and is now closing up on Rossin. Down towards the Siemens turn, they go through the left-hander and up the Tom Price straight. I would not be surprised if Ryan Lowry is able to get a good run on Carl Rossin. Down the Tom Price straight and into the hairpin. He's having to defend to the inside line to stop Peter Smith coming through. Look at Ryan Lowry, he's all over that rear-view mirror. Please don't pass me, please don't pass me. He's made a bit of a mistake there through the hairpin. But is he going to get a good run off the turn? That's the main point. Peter Smith is not close enough to challenge. Philip Waters having a good battle further back with, I think that's Bernie Printy. And they've got one of the production boxes in front. I think that's got to be Andrew Baker. But an absolutely terrific battle in the 924s. Whoops, Peter Smith just going a little bit too far into the turn. Now, Adam Southgate is kicking on up in front of us. We're on board with Nick Hull as we make our way up towards Rocket. Brake. Careful, turn in. Richard Avery still all over us. Ed Hayes has caught us up as well. So this is going to be particularly interesting. Now we're hearing there's an investigation for 3 drivers jumping the start. That's Nick Hull, Ed Hayes and Richard Avery, the man in third place. So it looks as though one of them moved and all of them went. Nick Hull spins! Nick Hull spins into Peel. Disaster for Nick Hull. He's going to try and rejoin in front of Kevin Molyneux. He won't manage that. But a disaster for Nick Hull while running second. He's finished third so many times in his career in this championship. That could easily have been a second place, but he has now recovered. Here he is, chasing after Kevin Molyneux, who's up to fourth place. That leaves Ed Hayes and Richard Avery to battle away over second and third position. And Richard Avery is now setting off in pursuit of Adam Southgate. But look at the gap that Southgate's got. It's at least 5 seconds. So it's going to be tough to see how Southgate's going to lose this one. It could well be his third win of the season. He won at Cadwell, he won at Snetterton. Potentially now, he could well get his first victory in 2 meetings here at Anglesey. Ed Hayes has got to do something about Richard Avery to get through. Beautiful sunny skies here at Anglesey, bouncing off the water of the ocean behind us as we go into the hairpin at the banking. Through the right-hander and up towards Church. Adam Southgate is becoming a microscopic dot in the distance as we watch the second place battle in the 924s. This is Gavin Johnson in front of Carl Rossin and Ryan Lowry. 3 men, but only 2 spaces behind Pip Hammond on the podium. Ryan Lowry looks back, just checks his mirrors. Is Peter Smith close enough to me to worry? No, he's not, so I'm going for Carl Rossin. Here he goes, up towards the hairpin. Tucks in on the inside, Rossin's left the door open, but we switch to the battle between Avery and Hayes for second place in the Boxster category because Hayes has stepped up the attack on Avery. Oh, here's Lowry, and he's up alongside Rossin. Rossin keeps his foot in through Church. Someone's going to have to back down, and it's Rossin. Lowry keeps his foot in. Sayonara, Beatty boy, I'm going to take the place. Brilliant job. But Rossin is still there, I think. So it might not be done yet as we go into Rocket. Carl Rossin may still get another opportunity. Gavin Johnson locks up under braking, but no, Lowry has got the job done into third position as they go through the left, through the right of Rocket, and then up towards Peel. Brilliant racing from Ryan Lowry as he gets himself up onto the podium. Back to the action in the Bosters, sorry. And here is Avery battling away with Ed Hayes. Avery is still defending beautifully. There's not a lot he can do about Ed Hayes other than just keep that inside line. Here's Nick Hull, having caught up to Kevin Molyneux again. So the battle for fourth position is sure to intensify soon. They come up to turn one. Through the left-hander. Into the hairpin comes Avery and Hayes. They get back on the power nice and early. And Ed Hayes is still challenging Richard Avery, the number 6. Richard Avery has had an up-and-down season with mechanical gremlins. But now the car certainly looks on song after the repair work they've done from Castle Combe. When they had engine trouble, he had to borrow a spare car for second and third races of the weekend. But now he is back in his own machine and having fun. And actually, Ed Hayes brakes a little bit earlier than Richard Avery does on the way up to Rocket. And that will stable the car a little bit earlier. Ed Hayes is going to try and get the undercut out of Rocket. Out of the right-hander, up the hill towards Peel. Careful under brakes, because this is a faster corner than you give it credit for. And then you drop back down the crest up towards Siemens. This is where Richard Avery is going to have to be incredibly strong at defending into Siemens. Good job. He holds on to second position for the moment. Adam Southgate is well and truly gone, and it's looking like his victory. Meanwhile, Nick Hull has closed right up on Kevin Molyneux. So we've got a battle for second and a battle for fourth. And I have a feeling it's not done yet for either of them. In fact, for the fourth place battle, it's just getting started. Molyneux defends to the inside. Nick Hull goes round to the outside. Molyneux overshoots at the braking zone. Nick Hull's going to get him on the undercut. Thanks for the playtime, Kevin. I'm up to fourth place, says Nick Hull. That was a good bit of battling, and it looks as though we could get a similar tussle between Richard Avery and Ed Hayes, but Southgate out in front. Welcome back to the Anglesey circuit at Toy Crease. It is an absolutely brilliant battle for second position between Richard Avery and Ed Hayes, and we've just heard that 3 drivers are getting 10-second time penalties for jumping the start. That's Ed Hayes, Nick Hull and Richard Avery. So the battle for position then between Richard Avery and Ed Hayes is neutralised, because both drivers are going to get the same penalty, so the race can just continue as Richard Avery dives for the inside line at Rocket to defend and cover from Ed Hayes. Into the right-hander section of the chicane as they come up the hill towards Peel, and Ed Hayes swarming all over the back of Richard Avery. Not the first time they've gone to battle, and certainly not the last if this season is anything to go by. Ed Hayes doing a cracking job to close up on Richard Avery, but he just can't find a way through at the moment. There is the camper rent car number 6, the blue and green machine, running in second place as they both try and catch up to that man further up the road, Adam Southgate, who is just cantering away. I wonder, has Adam Southgate and Ed Hayes secretly swapped cars? Has he done a Dick Dastard, to be honest? He's miles out in front. Nick Hull in fourth position. We're right on board with him as he comes down into the hairpin. And he is trying to stay in touch with our podium runners just in case there's a chance he'll get back on the rostrum. Richard Avery running well there in second position in front of Ed Hayes as they come out of the final turn. And up the hill they go once again. We're on board with Ryan Lowry. This is the 924 battle. That's Gavin Johnson in front of us in second position. So Ryan Lowry in the Malutu car is trying to close up on the PDC racing machine of Gavin Johnson, whose teammate, incidentally, Pip Hammond, is once again looking absolutely dominant for what he's going to be. Would you believe it? If he stays there, there he is, in his 12th straight victory. It's the 14th race of the season, this. And it genuinely does look as though he is going to be on for his 12th straight victory of the season. Only Rick Styron has won races other than him in the 924 classes this season, and that was at the pair of double headers at Alton Park at the start of the season, the double header where he won both races. Here's Ryan Lowry, though, getting close to Gavin Johnson in the fight for second position, round the final bend, and look, Gavin Johnson moves to cover, but Ryan Lowry is looking incredibly racy as they go through turn one. Foot flat to the throttle. You're going to have to come off the throttle there, Ryan, and he does. But he's looking incredibly motivated to get past Gavin Johnson. This is cracking driving from Ryan Lowry as they go into the banking. Ryan Lowry looks a little bit more voracious through the turns, but Gavin Johnson looks smooth. The question is, which is the faster way? Let's listen to the engine. A little bit of a blip on the way in this time from Ryan Lowry, and look what that does. It gives him a little bit more speed because he's got more control over the car, and now he's going to try and pull alongside Gavin Johnson. He is going to go side by side down to the braking zone. He keeps his foot in. Gavin just needs to cover into the left-hander at Rocket, and he's done so. Ryan Lowry tucks right back into the inside, but he's going to get a faster exit through the right-hander unless Johnson can cover his line, which he does. Brilliant racing between these two. Lowry again draws alongside him as they go into Peel. Tucks right back on the inside. This is amazing. This is what we love about this championship. Both in the Boxsters and the 94s, there's great battling, and Lowry switches from one side of the road to the other, goes to the right side. They go through Siemens. Now he's going to dart to the left. Watch, he goes straight across as they go through down the Tom Price straight. Gavin Johnson moves to cover. Ryan Lowry moves to the right, then moves back to the left. Gavin Johnson covering that inside line of the hairpin. If he could just hold on to that inside line, Lowry's got no chance to cover. Whoops, up and over the curbs goes Lowry, but he is still closing in, and he is still fast. Down the straight, which way will he go? For the moment, he's going right, because that's where Gavin Johnson is sending him. He's sending him to that outside line. He twitches under braking, but he is still faster. Gavin Johnson a bit more conservative on the brakes. Ryan Lowry still attacking, and still the second place battle continues. Richard Avery versus Ed Hayes. In fact, if anything, Ed Hayes has closed up on Richard Avery. Round turn one comes the 924 battle for second position. It's still very close indeed as Ryan Lowry gets very tight in behind Gavin Johnson. And if they're not careful, Carl Rossing's going to catch them both. Whoops! Well, that's one in the eye for Ryan Lowry. He made a mistake there at the hairpin on the exit of the banking. Now he can go flat through Church, but he's lost ground to Gavin Johnson. And watch out, mate, because behind you, Carl Rossing is closing in. So there might still be another challenge for the podium in third position between Ryan Lowry and Carl Rossing. But Ryan Lowry needs to forget about that little mistake on the exit of the hairpin and march on towards Gavin Johnson. He's doing a cracking job to challenge the BDC racing team. Here's Richard Avery in the Boxsters, still out in front of Ed Hayes as they go into the banking. Ed Hayes will not give up. He is relentless in his opposition to Richard Avery. Adam Southgate further up the road is lapping 924s. I think he's just got past Philip Waters and Bernie Printy. We're on board with Adam Southgate. Absolutely serene out in front. That is what you want to see. A clear blue sky and a clear racetrack here at Anglesey. That is the 99. That's Matthew Harris. Then we've got two 924s. And then we've got the battle for second place in the race overall between Richard Avery and Ed Hayes as they race on for second and third position respectively. Ed Hayes is really close in behind Richard Avery as they come up towards Peel through the right-hander. Now, the two 924s in front of us on the road are Philip Waters and I think Bernie Printy in the 26 battling away with him. Oh, Ed Hayes gets very close to Richard Avery under braking for Siemens as they come up Tom Price straight. This is where we're going to get a really interesting battle. Further up the road though, Adam Southgate absolutely calm, cool and collected off the hairpin and down towards bus stop, the final turn on the corner, going beautifully well. Look, here's the spread as they come through. They've lapped Waters, they've lapped Printy, but Printy's got a really good exit and he's going to get past Philip Waters as they come up the turn. Yes, he does. So Bernie Printy has made up a place thanks to Richard Avery and Ed Hayes working their battle through the field. So Richard Avery in front of Ed Hayes as they come up towards turn one. They've got the 99, Matthew Harris, second in the production class behind him. There's not much between those two now. There's only about a dozen seconds. If you look at the progress that Matthew Harris has made compared to Andrew Baker, it's pretty good going, actually. But this is the battle we're focusing on, the second place battle in the Boxster class as Richard Avery looks swarming around, trying to stop Ed Hayes coming through. He wants to be a little bit careful how hard he makes Ed Hayes work for it. Hayes is going to get up the inside line, through Church, up the straight, and Hayes is surely going to take second place. He does. Richard Avery is going to try and hang with him to get back on the inside at Rocket. Hayes brakes very late for the chicane. He's going to overshoot. Hayes is going to go off on the grass. He doesn't quite hit the grass, but he has overshot, and Richard Avery gets back through. So Avery into second place once again. Ed Hayes struggling to cope with Richard Avery this time. They seem to have gained him. They've gained on him in terms of performance. He may have set a decent qualifying pace, but Southgate was faster, and now Richard Avery is very much a match for him in the race here. So the dominant streak of Ed Hayes, I think, may have come to a close, and it's perfect timing in the championship as things really start to heat up. Nick Hull, we ride on board with. That's Bernie Printy in front of us. Watch the speed difference between the Boxster and the 924. That was pretty easy down the Tom Price straight as we go into the hairpin. That is the 99. Oh, Nick Hull's going to overshoot. He loses the car, desperately trying not to hit the 99 of Matthew Harris. Here's Kevin Molyneux behind us as he comes through. Whoa, Kevin Molyneux loses it. Dear oh dear, Kevin Molyneux on the exit there of the hairpin just caught the curb, and that was enough to upset the balance of the car. I wonder if there's moisture down on the circuit as well, because both Nick Hull and Kevin Molyneux lost it at pretty much the same point on the circuit. So this man, Adam Southgate, is going to have to be very careful how he negotiates that. But up and over the curbs comes Adam Southgate as he goes through Church for the final time. What an absolutely superb performance this has been from the 45. He's going to get his third win of the season, and by far his most dominant, at a critical point in the championship fight when he needs to start taking points out of Ed Hayes. Richard Avery is looking likely to finish in second place, and that's going to be valuable points gained by Adam Southgate on the championship leader, Ed Hayes. So as they come out of Peel, Adam Southgate is looking good to get his third win of the season. He won at Cadwell, he won at Castle Combe, and now he is going to get the victory here in magnificent fashion at Anglesey. We ride on board with him down the Tom Price straight. This has been a magnificent start to the weekend so far. He was the only driver in qualifying yesterday as he laps Peter Smith. He was the only driver in qualifying to lap the circuit in under 100 seconds for the lap. 1 minute 39.689. That was over 0.4 of a second clear of his main rival Ed Hayes, and now he has got himself an absolutely superb victory, the third of his season, and that will tighten up the championship battle. The checkered flag flies, and it's a victory for Adam Southgate. Brilliant job and a magnificent victory. We look back to see where second place is. It's Richard Avery in front of Ed Hayes, but we hear that there's a further penalty being issued to Richard Avery. He is now fourth. So Southgate is first from Ed Hayes, Nick Hull, Richard Avery fourth. We apparently find out it's driving in a manner incompatible with general safety. Not sure what happened, but Molyneux is fifth from Porter and Churchill. Baker beats Harris in the production class race, and in the 924s, once again for the 12th time in a row, it's Pip Hammond who wins from Gavin Johnson. Ryan Lowry is third from Carl Rossin. Smith, Printy, Waters, Wood and Pritchard round out the field in the 924 category. Great start.
Adam, congratulations. Lights the flag. It looks like you've got everything set up perfectly here. Yeah, the car's working really well here. We had a great test session yesterday. I think we've got kind of a bit of a march on the pack, so yeah, really happy with the car. Thanks to the team. Pip, congratulations once again. Just have to ask you, do you ever get bored doing these interviews as a winner?
Oh, not at all. I love it. I thought we might get the Boxster Hunter title there as well. I was giving Phil a run for his money early doors, but he got his head round the track and pulled away, and didn't seem to make any sense wearing the car out when I had a bit of a gap back to these guys, and it looked to be an all-out war behind me. So I don't know. I'd like the same again in race 2, and then I'll get my elbows out in race 3. That's what I'm looking for. Gavin, that was a tough battle there for second place in the 924s. Talk us through it, because it was fantastic to watch.
Oh, it was brilliant, right from the word go. Carl and Ryan were interchanging behind me, and they're all over the bumper. I was trying to keep a tag on Hammond, but yeah, with them behind me, there was no chance today. It was a great battle. Really enjoyed it. Ryan, congratulations on your third place, but you were almost catching up there with Gavin, weren't you? That was a really tough one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he got a bit of a jump on the start. I put a bit of pressure, you know, and I kept the pressure up. It just wasn't quite enough, you know. He was quicker in places than me. I was quicker in certain places. It made for a great race, though.
Second day of action here at Anglesey for the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship, and as you can see, the weather has definitely taken a turn for the worst. Adam Southgate still on pole position as the cars go out there following an exciting race from yesterday. It's over to Jake to take you through the rest of the grid.
Cheers, Lloyd. And when it rains at Anglesey, it really rains. We'll have to keep an eye out on it. Adam Southgate from Ed Hayes on the front row of the grid, from Nick Hull and Richard Avery on the second, Kevin Molyneux, Andrew Porter and Philip Churchill in the Boxsters. In the 924s, Pip Hammond and Gavin Johnson on the front row again, Lowry and Rossin on the second, Smith, Printy, Waters, Wood and Pritchard, with Andrew Baker and Matthew Harris on the production box of the grid. Going to be an interesting one, this. Let's see how the drivers get away off the start line. Red lights are on and we're out and racing. Great start from Ryan Lowry. He's going to try and split the two PDC racing cars as we go to turn one. Keep your foot in. Pip Hammond gets his first bit of contact since Alton Park. And Gavin Johnson is going to take the lead round the outside of the 924s. But out in front, it's Southgate from Nick Hull again. Nick Hull makes a magnificent start as Hammond tries to go round the outside of his teammate Gavin Johnson round the banking. I'm not sure if he actually made that stick. Johnson still leads at the moment. He's got a nose in front until Pip Hammond goes round the outside of Church. Is he going to hold on to it? Yes, he does. Great move from Pip Hammond on his teammate Gavin Johnson. And we ride on board with Lowry. He could get an opportunity to go for Gavin Johnson up the straight. What a difference 24 hours makes. Look at the weather conditions. It's incredibly windy and very drizzly up the hill. Ryan Lowry keeps his foot in. Round the outside of Rocket. Hammond's going to overshoot. That's the first mistake Hammond's made all season pretty much, other than Alton Park. So Johnson's going to take the lead until Ryan Lowry gets on the inside line. Ryan Lowry leads. Nice bit of satisfaction there for Ryan Lowry. He leads a race for the first time in the 924 Championship this season. Gavin Johnson second, and this time Pip Hammond is going to have to work for it. He's now rejoined in fourth position behind Carl Rossin. So what a race this is going to be in the 924s. I almost want to sit with this one for the entirety of. But as they come over the hill, look at the fog as they come through. The clouds really gather at ground level here. Into the hairpin as Gavin Johnson closes up on Ryan Lowry. We could have a completely different 924 winner as Avery has a look at Nick Hull in the box. It's Southgate from Hull, Avery, Hayes and Molyneux, just as it was in race one. But yesterday's bright sunshine has been replaced with muggy, grizzly drizzle. Is that a word? Muggy, grizzly drizzle? It is now. Richard Avery round the outside of Nick Hull. Whoa, he had to miss his braking point. And Hayes is going to try and take it on the inside line. Avery sticks it to the outside. Whoops. That's track limits if ever I've seen it. Up on the curbs, trying to keep out there in front of Ed Hayes. Hayes, both of them having to brake on the inside line for Church, and Hayes gets through. Avery has to surrender third place for the moment. But Avery is still going to give it another go. As they come down the straight, he's going to try and tuck into the inside. Hayes will not let that happen as they close up on Nick Hull. But Adam Southgate is looking good for the victory up front. Hull second. Southgate out in front. Avery tucked in behind Ed Hayes in the battle for third position as they close up on Nick Hull. Nick Hull in second place. He's had billions of third positions. He wants a second place. Gavin Johnson loses it up towards Peel. Oh my goodness. He was very lucky there not to collect Ryan Lowry as they went through, but Gavin Johnson loses it under braking. It's such a difficult part of the circuit in the wet, and he will now drop to the back of the 924 grid, so that will be a very different podium at the moment. Ryan Lowry leading the race in the 924s. Here's Nick Hull into the hairpin, not too far away from Adam Southgate, but the drivers behind him will want to get past him relatively quickly to avoid Adam Southgate doing another disappearing act. Here comes Ed Hayes, trying to have a look at Nick Hull, but Nick Hull is a very wise driver. He knows how to keep him covered, and he does so. Now Richard Avery's going round the outside of Ed Hayes. Come on then, boys, let's have a shindig as they come off the turn, up towards turn one. This is going to be interesting, and Kevin Molyneux there, sat in fifth position, is going to be able to pick up the pieces if they start squabbling. But Ed Hayes has a look to Nick Hull. Nick Hull through the banking, has no problem at all negotiating it. And look, the rain spot's on the camera. We're starting to get rain. And this could be a problem. At Anglesey, when it rains, it really chucks it down. Here's Pip Hammond through turn one as he tries to make progress through the field in the 924 class. Now that looks to me to be Ryan Lowry in front of us, so he has worked his way to second already. So Pip Hammond now chasing down Ryan Lowry. Oh, careful, Pip. This race is looking like the most lackadaisical race he's had this year since the first race at Alton Park, when he ended up binning it into the wall at the first corner at Alton Park in the battle with Rick Styron. Since then, he has pretty much dominated proceedings, but now he's got a real battle on his hands. So Pip Hammond chasing down Ryan Lowry as they come up towards up towards Rocket into the left-hander. You can see how choppy the sea is behind us. It's incredibly windy up here on the hill. And as they come through, Ryan Lowry still holds the lead in the 924. Second is Pip Hammond. Third is Carl Rossin. And I think, is that Peter Smith in fourth position? Riding on board with Pip Hammond as the circuit gets wetter and wetter. And if it gets really heavy, it's going to be raining cats, pigs, dogs, chickens, sheep, you name it. But here comes Ryan Lowry, still defending from Pip Hammond. They come down the Tom Price straight. Ryan Lowry hanging on for the moment, but Pip Hammond has got him in his grasp. Down to the hairpin. It's getting heavier, the rain. This is going to play into the hands of Pip Hammond because he will be able to make the move. Lowry overshoots. But can Lowry tuck back to the inside and get it back? No, he can't. So Pip Hammond takes the lead. Ryan Lowry signalling to Pip Hammond, I'm just going to follow you for a bit, mate. And meanwhile, third position is having a bit of a squabble in the 924s because Carl Rossin has got pressure from Peter Smith, who's trying to come through into P3. Back on board with the Boxsters. This is Nick Hull. And you can see how heavy the rain is on his newer windscreen. It's tough to tell on the 924s because obviously they're older windscreens and they steam up a bit easier. But here in the Boxsters, you can see how heavy the weather is getting. Oh, there's Ed Hayes charging through and going to the outside. Thank you, mate. I'll take the place back. And now Richard Avery's going to try and get through round the outside. Beautifully done. Richard Avery up into third place. So Ed Hayes drops back into fourth position. That's how tricky it is. Anglesey in the wet is a really tricky circuit to negotiate. We're on board with Gavin Johnson. He's got one of the production Boxsters going past him. And look at his bonnet. It's flapping in the breeze here. It's getting very tricky. Now we're on board with Adam Southgate. Adam Southgate is behind the drivers up front. What's happened to Southgate? Southgate has dropped back into fourth position. We didn't see what happened, but Adam Southgate has dropped back. Nick Hull is leading this race. Not for long. There goes Ed Hayes through. Hayes has got through into the lead. Hull in second. Avery third. But Adam Southgate is behind these guys now in fourth position. He must have had an off and has had to drop back behind them. Look, there's Southgate in the background in fourth place. So Ed Hayes takes the lead. Hayes leads it. Hull second. Avery third. Southgate fourth. We didn't see what happened, though. That's the crucial problem we've got, is that we didn't see what happened to Adam Southgate. So now we've got a different leader. It is Ed Hayes leading. Nick Hull now second. Avery in third, trying to make his way through. That's how tricky Anglesey is in the wet. Here comes Avery, swarming around behind Nick Hull, trying to come through. Adam Southgate will be kicking himself. That was a second victory of the weekend. Very much in his pocket, and now he's behind them. So Nick Hull chasing after Ed Hayes. He's not pulling away quickly enough yet for Nick Hull to be concerned. He's going to try and gain some time on Ed Hayes, who drifts through the final turn. Look at that. The first corner is almost impossible to see through at the moment. Lots of rain on our cameras. I feel so sorry for the marshals. Whoops, Ed Hayes goes wide. Oh, and that's Richard Avery. Big shot, big shot. Richard Avery loses it coming out of turn one and cannons into the barrier. Now, that could easily be a safety car, or it could even be a race stoppage considering where he is on the circuit. Southgate's now up to third, but Richard Avery is out of this race. So problems there. We're hearing that there's a penalty that's going to be handed out, a 10-second penalty for Andrew Pritchard in the 924s for jumping the start. So that's the second race in a row. Look at the standing water on Adam Southgate's car. And the rain is getting really, really heavy now here at Anglesey. I would not be surprised at all if we're about to go to a red flag because of the conditions. I mean, it gets really heavy at Anglesey at the best of times. So we need to be very careful in these slippery conditions. I wouldn't be too surprised, you know, if Noah's Ark started to drift into the shot further back. Here's Nick Hull, still running in second position. Oh no, Nick Hull's lost it now. In through Siemens, there goes Adam Southgate. Nick, that was your best chance of second place yet. And now he's gone and dropped out to third position, so it looks like he will pick up another trophy. This is getting ridiculous now, look at the weather. Kevin Molyneux there in fourth position. And considering these guys are on, I think they're on dry tyres actually as well, so because obviously the race started in tricky conditions, but it wasn't enough for wet tyres. I think they're going to have to stop the race here. Oh, this is Adam Southgate. Ah, yes, we're under safety car, that's why. So the safety car has come out for Richard Avery's accident. So with the safety car out on the circuit, they're going to bring it under safety car and checkered flag. Now, that's a good call because obviously it's raining very hard and they're all on dry tyres. So Ed Hayes is your winner from Adam Southgate in second. Nick Hull is third. Kevin Molyneux fourth from Andrew Porter and Philip Churchill, with Richard Avery okay, but with a battered car. Andrew Baker in front of Matthew Harris in the production category. Andrew Baker once again on the top step of the podium. And in the 924 race, Pip Hammond makes it 13 wins in a row. Ryan Lowry in second from Carl Rossin, Peter Smith. Johnson recovers to 5th place in the end from Printy, Waters, Wood and Andrew Pritchard.
Ed, that was a case of being in the right place at the right time going up the hill.
It was, yeah. We put brand new tyres on about 2 minutes before we came out, and I seemed to be finding more grip than the other guys, so I got a turn out of the fast corner that leads onto the straight, and I got a run on both of those guys and managed to just hang on, and then the safety car turned up. So, yeah, it was all right.
Adam, bit difficult out there in these conditions.
Yeah, it turns out the curbs were a little bit slippery, as I found out coming onto the start-finish straight, and yeah, nice little pirouette, and then these three came past me. But yeah, I wanted the safety car to come back in, because I wanted me and Ed to have a bit of a race in these conditions, but I think we'll get that in race 3.
Nick, for a moment there, that race could have gone in any way, really, couldn't it?
Yeah, it was quite exciting. It got very, very slippy very, very quickly. Fair play to Ed. He did a stellar move on me up the inside at the top there. He did it twice. The first time he didn't stick, the second time I didn't think he was going to do it, but he did, and he made it stick. So yeah, fair play. It was good fun, good racing.
Well, as if the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship isn't exciting enough, as we've already seen in the first 2 races this weekend, we now have torrential rain, high winds and reverse grids for race 3. Philip Churchill starts on pole position. It's over to Jake Sanson to take you through the rest of the grid.
And you'll be delighted to hear not a safety car start in sight. Philip Churchill and Andrew Porter share the front row. Kevin Molyneux and Nick Hull are on the second. Adam Southgate shares row 3 with Ed Hayes. Richard Avery's car is too damaged to continue. Andrew Pritchard and Jason Wood are on the front row of the 924s from Waters and Printy. Gavin Johnson, Peter Smith, Carl Rossin, Ryan Lowry and that man Pip Hammond starting from the back. Matthew Harris and Andrew Baker take up residence in the productions. So let's see how this start gets underway. Completely torrential rain. Ryan Lowry having to wipe the windscreen to see the lights. Here they go, they come on, and when they go out, we're racing in Anglesey. Wait for it. Tally-ho! Great start from the Boxsters already. Adam Southgate charging his way through. This is Pip Hammond. He's got past one. Ryan Lowry has got Gavin Johnson to his left and Bernie Printy to his right. He's got to be very careful through turn 1. Are they all going to make it through? Yes, they do. But Nick Hull looks like he's leading the race. Indeed, Nick Hull leads it. Porter in second place. Third is Adam Southgate from Molyneux, Hayes, Churchill. Absolutely terrific stuff in the 94. Oh, Nick Hull spun! Nick Hull spun from the lead! I don't believe it. They're all going to work their way through. Nick Hull leads the race for about 200 yards and then spins it out of the hairpin. Unbelievable. Now we're on board with Ryan Lowry. To our right, that looks like, is that Gavin Johnson? Yes, it is. Leading the race in the 924s. Currently, it is Philip Waters, I believe, who leads the way. My goodness, try and pick out a car through the spray. It's absolutely appalling conditions. Absolutely torrential rain here at Anglesey. Up the hill they go. That's Philip Churchill, who was on pole position for the Boxsters already in amongst the 924s as Gavin Johnson goes wheel to wheel with Ryan Lowry. I'm not sure yet what position this is for. I'm trying to pick them up as they come through. Well, that is Jason Wood up the road in front of us in the 42. That is actually the championship winning car from last year. Linda Warren was racing that last year. We're on board with Pip Hammond. That's Peter Smith off to our left. In front of us is Ryan Lowry as Pip Hammond works his way through. Listen to the rain. Absolutely appalling as they come through. Hammond is on the right-hand side through Siemens. He's got good traction. Stay off the curbs, guys. That's how Adam Southgate lost race 2. We're on board with Ryan Lowry. Well, there comes Pip Hammond alongside us. How can they see where they're going in these conditions? Gavin Johnson trying to come up the inside of Bernie Printy, and he makes it stick. So Gavin Johnson is through, up into, I think, 3rd position in the 924s. Waters is leading. Second is Jason Wood. Then it's Gavin Johnson. Then it's Pip Hammond. He's got Bernie Printy. So Hammond is through in a P4. Look at the spray. Unbelievable as they come up to the bus stop. Hammond now tries to go around the outside of his teammate. Bernie Printy is 5th from Smith. There's Ryan Lowry in 7th place in the 924s. And behind them is Nick Hull trying to work his way through. Lowry's making the move on Smith. Look to the left because we might see Nick Hull coming past. Although Nick Hull is not going to be that brave. Or should I say that moronic to try a move there in these conditions. But he's got past Peter Smith. Now he's going to make the move on Bernie Printy. Ryan Lowry, he's going to try and outbrake him. This could get messy. Peter Smith down the inside of Bernie Pritchard gets through. Nick Hull is going to try and get down the pass on the straight up towards Church. We're on board with Pip Hammond. That's Philip Churchill in front of us in the Boxster. When was the last time competitively a 924 overtook a Boxster? Only in the wet conditions could this be a thing. But Pip Hammond is getting past Philip Churchill, no problem at all, as he chases after Jason Wood in second place in the 924s. And looks like Gavin Johnson's going to go through as well. That's a satisfying moment. Passing one of the Boxsters. That's a very nice moment. Well, that means that the leader in the 924s, Philip Waters, is actually running 5th overall in the race. And look, Ryan Lowry's gone round the outside of Nick Hull to hang on to his road position. Nick Hull's going to try and go around the outside. The 924's actually got more grip in these conditions, so he gets back through. Philip Churchill is causing a bit of a roadblock in front. Nick Hull goes up the inside of Ryan Lowry, takes the place, and he's going to repeat the move on Philip Churchill in the same breath. Ryan Lowry now goes up the inside of Philip Churchill. That's how fast and furious the racing is in the wet, in the Porsche Championship from the BRSCC. Amazing. Now we've got Philip Churchill about to be passed round the outside by Matthew Harris, who is leading the production class. So even the production class, no, there goes Matthew Harris. Double spin onto the grass and the Tom Price straight. Hopefully he'll be able to get that going again. But what an amazing race this is turning out to be already. Very slippery conditions. Now that's Nick Hull making his way down past Gavin Johnson down the straight, flashing his lights. Pip Hammond has got past Jason Wood. Nick Hull is saying to the 924s, get out of the way. I'm trying to catch up to the Boxsters, and you are not making life easy for me. Jason Wood in 3rd, Gavin Johnson now 4th, trying to work his way through. And he's going to find it very tricky, I think, to make his way up through the field. Ryan Lowry, meanwhile, looks in his rearview mirrors, looks ahead of him, can't see a thing. Mind you, that's only because we're looking through the left side of the windscreen. The right side of the windscreen is clear, but in that shot, we can't really see anything in front of us. So it is very treacherous conditions indeed here in the 924s. There's Jason Wood still hanging on to second place. That is Philip Waters further up the road, battling it out with Pip Hammond. Hammond trying to come around the outside of Philip Waters. Waters is giving him a challenge. He leaves him enough space. Pip Hammond keeps his foot in. He's going to make it 3 out of 3. Is he round the outside? Takes the lead. Yes, so Pip Hammond into the lead in the 924s. And that is 5th overall. Now Nick Hull is closing in on both of them. Pip Hammond's got to be so careful at this point of the circuit to make sure he hangs on to the lead. He gets through the first part of Rocket, no problem at all. Through the left, now through the right. Nick Hull has got to wait behind the photograph livery of the number 15 of Philip Waters, who nearly loses the car completely. My goodness me. Nick Hull almost cannoned straight into the side of him there. That was very close indeed. Now, there is Adam Southgate out in front, leading the way. So Southgate has obviously found his way past Andrew Porter. We didn't see that, but Porter has dropped a long way back. Hayes is now 2nd, but poor Nick Hull, he led the race for about 200 yards and then binned it on the exit of the hairpin, on the banking, sorry. So easy to do in these conditions. It's like, basically, when you race around the Anglesey circuit, because of how high the wind is, because of how close proximity to the sea you are, and because of how heavy the rain can actually get around this circuit, it's a bit like running around on ice skates covered with ice cubes, blindfolded at a drunken wedding. It's absolutely impossible to see where you're going. So there is Adam Southgate leading the way as he goes through Church. Very tricky. The car can snap away at any point on this circuit. It's a real driver's track, Anglesey. I've always said for years and years that the British Touring Car Championship should come here. If only they can improve the infrastructure a little bit in the pits to give all the teams garages. But this would be a really exciting circuit for touring car racing. I think it could work in the BTCC. But no BTCC means we get the Porsche Championship instead, and they're giving us one heck of a show. On board with Ryan Lowry as he goes down to the hairpin. Right, somebody's in front of us. Don't ask me to tell you who it is. I can't see. Nick Hull makes his way past Andrew Porter. Now that's going to put him into 4th position in the Boxsters and 4th overall as well. So good progress made from Nick Hull, but he will be kicking himself that he hasn't got the victory because he was leading on the first lap of the race. He made a perfect start, and unfortunately the conditions just caught him out. But he will live to fight another day, and maybe there is that first elusive race victory in the offing later in the season. Maybe next time out at Rockingham he'll get an opportunity. 3 more races there in Northamptonshire as they come up and over the Bray, down the Tom Price straight. Andrew Porter is actually trying to stay with Nick Hull in their battle for 4th position. That's how heavy the rain is. You can just hear it spattering the cameras as they come through. I'm feeling so sorry for the Orange Army and the camera crew around the circuit, the marshals and the camera crew giving us this magnificent race. We couldn't race if it weren't for the marshals, and you couldn't see it if it wasn't for the camera crew. So you've got to give them a lot of credit for staying out there in this and giving us all the action. But Nick Cole has worked his way through to P4. And across the line he comes, trying to close up on our leaders. There is Adam Southgate. These conditions definitely suiting him. He has learned from his race 2 mistake. He is not going to lose this race this time. And because of the rain, of course, it is a shortened distance. We managed about 12 laps in the dry. Now we're going to manage only 9 in the wet conditions, I think. Out of the final turn, Adam Southgate is going to come across the line. The checkered flag flies, and Southgate wins his 2nd race of the weekend to close up on Ed Hayes in the championship fight. That is a crucial victory. Ed Hayes is 2nd. Kevin Molyneux comes through for 3rd place, over a minute back. Nick Hull is in 4th from Andrew Porter and Philip Churchill, with Richard Avery obviously failing to start. Andrew Baker wins the production class by only 3.5 seconds to Matthew Harris. And in the 924s, what a performance this weekend. The hat-trick again from Pip Hammond. 14 wins out of 16. Philip Waters comes through for 2nd ahead of Gavin Johnson, with Smith, Lowry, Rossin, Wood, Pritchard and Printy in pursuit.
Adam, that was a nice, easy Sunday afternoon drive, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I wanted a wet race, and that's the reason why. Really, really happy with this car in the rain. Got real confidence in it. So, yeah, once I got to the front, just pulled a gap to Ed, and then just, yeah, quite easy from then on, really, just controlled it.
Ed, everything seemed to happen there on the first lap.
Yeah, it was a good fun race, but I thought my heat screen would work, but it didn't. So I had no vision into any left-handers, which just meant I was guessing where I was. I don't think I'd have caught Adam anyway, to be honest, but it would have helped. So he just streaked into the distance.
Pip, what else can we say about the racing out there? It's been wet, and yet you've still come through from the back of the grid to win.
Yeah, I hope you guys saw it. I couldn't see a thing on those first couple of laps. I mean, the spray from coming off the boxes is phenomenal, and you just got to drive into it and hope for the best, really. I think I might start a campaign for brighter rain lights, actually. I really couldn't see a thing, but made up to win the race. Nice to see Phil back up the front in that new car and Gavin back on the podium. But mainly, I want to say a big well done to this guy. Jason's been supporting us from the start. And I think 5th was it in the end, I think?
Somewhere around there, yeah. Just absolutely overwhelmed, speechless. When it got a really good start, got into the back of the boxers, and I backed out towards the middle of the race because I just want to keep where I was without spinning out, and it was proper made up.
Well, that was tight, close racing throughout in the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. Both the Boxsters and the 924s were really good, no matter what the weather conditions. We hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to you joining us next time when the action comes from Rockingham.